City Council meeting to order. Welcome everybody here. Biggest crowd we've had in a while. Must be some expectations. I will announce that we do have a quorum here. The entire council's here. Appreciate you being here. It's an important night to vote and approve the budget for the new fiscal year, which starts day after tomorrow. So if you'll bow with me, we'll have a word of prayer before we go any further. Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for this day and for another opportunity to gather here tonight, Lord. We're thankful that you allow us to live in this community, and we thank you for our friends and neighbors that are here tonight. We pray that a blessing on our council members and their families, our employees and their families, and we thank you for keeping us safe today during the anticipated storms. We thank you for the good rain. We ask that you be with us. Take care of our people, especially our elderly, during the time of this extreme heat, and we'll be sure to give you all the praise and glory. We thank you for everything you do for us. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, got a set of minutes from May 16. We don't have this special call meeting, but we do have the last regular meeting. Is there a motion on the minutes?
To approve.
Any discussions? All right, if not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Minutes are approved. This is the part of the meeting where we gather and allow the members of the public to address us about any issue that they wish concerning the city of Watertown, and now we'll do that. I know I've got some people here that want to speak on the urban growth boundary. So if they'd like to do that first. Yes, ma'am. All right.
Hi, everyone. I don't know if y'all know who I am or not, but for those of you who may not, I'm Officer Gray, Watertown PD. And I'm here to return my call. How about now?
That's good.
All right. Anyway, I'm Officer Gray. And I'm here to speak about some concerns that I have. I know that some of you, if not all of you, know that I am leaving Watertown to go job out of state. However, I wanted to speak about some concerns that I have, because at my time here at Watertown, I have come to know a lot of the citizens here. Very good people. There's a lot of good people in Watertown. I put together different functions for the children during, the holidays. For Halloween, we did the Thanksgiving thing. I mean, we've done a lot for the community. Myself, Officer Austin, Assistant Chief Hinderlight, we've tried to really build a bridge between the community and the police department. So it's still important to me that even though I'm leaving, that those who come in continue that. And I know that in the meeting that you guys had on June the 15th, it was mentioned by Mayor Jennings that y'all were losing 3 officers partly due to more money. More money is always a factor when it comes to your job and raising your family and this retirement and this, that, and another. However, that's not the only reason. And I thought that it was important to let y'all know that. I thought that it was important for me to be the person to stand up here and let y'all know that is not the only reason myself and Officer Austin chose to leave. Was it a factor? Of course it was. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. That was not what made our decision. What made our decision was the problems within the police department itself. The issues of double standards. Certain officers being reprimanded when certain officers are not. Being called into mandatory meetings and told you will do this, this, and this on traffic stops. If you don't, you will be written up, only to be told by Chief Laney himself on a traffic stop 3 weeks after the fact, I don't care if they don't have a license, they're illegal. We don't need that in our town. Give them a warning, let them go. Double standards. The rules only apply when it's convenient. The issues of who he doesn't like this week or who made him mad this week depends on how you're treated. And that needs to stop. Watertown's not going to be able to retain good officers. The pay is not the only thing, and the pay is coming up, and it's much better. And it will retain decent officers, but not if they have to deal with that. It's not. When I came into work last week, the new Tahoe, the white one, was sitting in the parking lot. The black one was sitting beside it. Sergeant Petty was in the Explorer. I was told drive the Escape. Chief's driving the white Tahoe. Why? It never moved out of the parking lot. He left an hour later. The vehicle never moved out of the parking lot. He was in his office watching the news. It's things like that. Why would you put any officer, whether they're part-time or full-time, why would you put them in an unsafe vehicle when you have perfectly good ones that I came before this council and made y'all aware of and asked you to please help us get better vehicles, only to find out only certain people can drive them? Again, it's not going to matter to me in a couple of weeks because, I'm leaving the state. But it's going to matter to the officers that come to this town to work. It's going to matter. It's a problem. It's a problem. The favoritism's a problem. It's a problem to have certain officers getting certain things because they'll run and do whatever, fetch, or do it because I told you to. It's not right. The minute I let that van at 3:45 in the morning, by the way, y'all, I had a van pulled over with 17 illegal immigrants in it with no ID. I had to call Chief Laney on his phone because he didn't have his radio on. Didn't know I was on a traffic stop. When he made the scene and I asked him, this is a situation that I've got. This is probably going to be one of two things. We don't need that here. Just give them a verbal warning and send them on the way. But, sir, you just said in a mandatory meeting, just do it. It's on body cam. Pull the footage. It's things like that. Officer safety, community safety. These are safety issues for the people in this community, and they deserve better than that. They do. They deserve better. So that's all I'm going to say about that, but that is an issue that y'all need to address. The other issue that I have is, on June 3rd, I made a public records request with City Hall. And I received an email on the 7th of June stating that I would get a reason for denial or an acceptance for those records on July the 3rd. I questioned why. Why would public records take that long? I was told, nothing. Fine. Law says I can come in and look at those records without making copies of them anytime during normal business hours. I was told via email by you, Mayor Jennings.
That's correct.
No, you have. I told you what it's going to be. So my question is, what about those records was a violation of the public part?
You will have those records on July the 3rd, as I told you.
That's not what you actually, that's not what you told me, sir.
That's what's in the letter that is allowed by the law. I'm not going to argue with you, Officer Gray.
You don't have to argue with me, sir. It's in an email. An email that was sent to the Board of Professional Responsibility.
I'm going to tell you,
My other issue is this. That's okay. Board of Professional Responsibility, handle that. My other issue is this.
Hold on a minute.
Sewage.
You have threatened me with that Board of Professional Responsibility. All you're going to.
It's not a threat, sir. It was filed. That's not a threat.
Good. Now, sit down. We're done. We're not going to have this here.
I don't have the right to speak?
Not when you start that. You've attacked the police chief. You've attacked me.
I haven't attacked you, sir. I'm making concerns.
Sit down. Yes, ma'am.
You're demanding that I stop talking in this public meeting.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Y'all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Others that'd like to speak? Come on, Jim. Let me make a comment here for those that are here. I don't normally react like that. But this lady twice has threatened to take me to the Board of Professional Responsibility for my actions as a mayor, not as an attorney. There's another attorney in this room who knows that when you go to the Board of Professional Responsibility, that is about the worst thing that can happen to an attorney. And the ultimate thing that can happen is you can lose your license. Now, I haven't done anything to lose my license, and nor has the other attorney in here. I just use that as an example. But when they start standing up in public and making comments like that, it slanders my reputation, my law license, and the fact my daddy and mama worked to put me through law school. I'm not gonna let that happen. So if you think I did wrong, that's fine, but I'm gonna defend myself. Public servants have the right to be criticized, but they don't have the right for that right there. So that's what that's all about. Now, Jim, I'm sorry. I won't short you time. I cut into it talking.
Well, we all know that we got the Jazz Festival coming up, thanks to John and everybody else. Is there any way we can get the sidewalk lights repaired? You've got two that were broken down, one at the corner of the bank and Depot Street and the other one at Jimbo's, which when it went down, my light in front of my house went out. Now, whether or not it's just a fluke or if it was just wore out or whatever, the light bulb, but there's at least a half a dozen between the square and my house that are out. So with all the folks that could be walking around, you know, it may be that late, but we'll see. But I just thought I'd bring that to y'all attention.
Okay. Bob, do we have these lights? He's talking about repairing the lights.
We got some light bulbs, we don't have
The globes.
light. We had one damaged 3 weeks ago.
Okay, Mr. Dow.
I've got two that I'm talking to right now on order. Total is $2,965 for 2 poles.
Two poles or bulbs?
2 poles.
Okay.
Yes, for 2 poles, not poles.
I just said bulbs.
2 poles. So, we're trying to come up with money for that. But we're gonna go through at least order one, but they charge us $441 for delivery, no matter how many poles we order. So,
Where do they come from?
from Alabama. It's a company down there that's an artistic thing. They make street lights for everybody around the nation.
I thought if it's local, we could go get them for you.
Yeah. But it's in Alabama, that's where it's at. So.
Okay.
In a meeting or two before, I brought these lights up about not having the lights in the square. And at that time, the chamber was supposed to have checked into it and taken care of that, the way I remember.
We looked into it.
And that should have done been done.
Yeah, we looked into it. The ones that were, everything in the square was working, those were replaced. The ones along Main Street, next to the square, come out of those private buildings, which we can't do anything about. If they don't want to turn them on,
Is that something we can, like, part of having a business on the squares, you have to
that's their
provide
electricity.
electricity? I mean, I see the
That's
need
why-
for it, it looks good. For
Yeah,
safety reasons, I mean, it is dark right there in front of the
Yeah.
Mexican restaurant across the street. I mean, just about every one of those.
Yeah, they all come out of the private buildings.
Right. So
That's
there's
their
nothing we
electricity
can
bill.
put in.
That should be addressed, looks like to me, that the lights should be on the square.
Okay.
Along the sidewalk also, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the lights that the chamber put up should be addressed.
Right.
Because we took down the poles,
How many do we have out?
I don't know, but it's several.
The ones in the square.
Come through there at night and you can see it's
I
all
do,
around,
but I don't want to pay.
all around the squares, lights out.
Been across that square for 68 years, I don't want to pay anything.
That night that Hal had mentioned, I went over there, and there's, I think, 4 that is across the street from the Mexican restaurant that's privately owned to my extent. So none of those are working. And then there were probably 6 throughout that just looked like they had bulbs out, just
those-
spread out. But those have been fixed,
Yeah,
yes.
they burn out. They get
Right, right.
replaced. But the ones on Main Street, you know, we can't force them to turn on as far as I know, because it's their electricity bill. Because I've gone to them as historic and asked them, and I can't get a hold of the one at the coffee shop. I can't talk to him, I know he's always gone. And the one out of the candy store, the old candy store, there's nobody there. And now the one that, from the other store, she's leaving, so she's gonna have her power turned off. And that Lulu's is also, so, And the hardware stores, they're trying to figure out why it doesn't work, but they're willing to. So,
Over there at the corner, up from the library, that whole corner is dark. I don't
think
who,
anymore.
No,
I
not
think those
anymore.
lights-
have they turned them on? They had,
yeah,
it just lately they have,
We went through and it looked
Yeah.
lovely, so.
yeah.
Yes, it was, because that night I did go by
Yeah.
and just counted everything. And I was like, wow, there's a lot more than you think just driving by. So, but
I'm glad
I
you
didn't
brought that
notice
up.
that this week when I came by on the square at night.
The original deal, and I'm going back many years, so that's dangerous, I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but I thought Historic Watertown raised the money and put those in.
Yes.
And then what was the deal for taking care of them after that? Does anybody recall?
As far as what I've read in whatever minutes we've had, the city was gonna maintain them with in conjunction, just from doing the, you see a light out, they would go and replace the bulb. If it's something minor, they can fix. If not, we'd have to pay for the like the globes we're buying the poles. And we're also, anything that has to do with electrical, that's in there and working on it, so.
Well, Jim, your request started out to fix 2 of them, but it's rapidly grown
I'm
here.
glad I brought something up there.
We're going, yeah, well, I'd rather deal with
It
it.
just makes
We're,
it, with all the folks that's gonna be in town, that's what I was getting at.
yeah, and we may not get things done by that time. but
Right.
we need to go back and look at the whole process and what y'all were telling me.
Yeah.
All the poles.
Now, if you do that Main Street section on the road, it's easier to run a conduit out from each pole and run it back to the service. But that would have to be done when the street's being done. So-
Is this something, Mr. Dowd, that I need to go and talk to the chamber about what their role will be?
I don't think they have a role in it.
Okay.
But it would help, because any money we can raise would help us, because we don't have that much, so.
Okay.
Could
That, we're trying to save money for the gazebo too, so.
they all be centrally powered by the old city hall? It still has power, right?
It does have power.
Yeah.
We had a place, we had a connection on the pole over there about halfway up the right-hand side of the square between the old Melton Block building and the city hall. So I'm assuming they're still powered off there,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
There's a lot of them are powered off of that, and, Bob probably knows what the rest are, but,
All I know to say tonight is we need to take a look at it and see what we can do.
Mayor, can I just make a recommendation possibly? Because we can't resolve this in time for the Jazz Festival,
Right,
obviously.
Right.
Do we, as a council, need to consider renting a temporary light to put there on the corner where the old service station is to light up that end of Main Street in that corner, just for safety for the Jazz Festival?
I mean, we can, I
We
don't know.
maybe look into possibly renting, it's a generator light fixture that can be put there at that corner, just for the festival.
We could do that, I mean, what's the pleasure of the council on that?
I prefer spotlights, the great big ones.
Well,
You want one of those that rotates to the, so planes can land?
but I'm just thinking from the safety perspective, with all the people we know we're gonna have in town, with the Mexican restaurant being one of the sit-down restaurants that will be available that evening. Just a thought, I mean, I don't know what the rest of the council thinks, but something we might want to consider.
I second that.
Okay.
Because it is really dark in that area. And sometimes there's food trucks right around there.
And
People
food trucks are
parking
gonna
and
be,
walking.
The food trucks are gonna be up in the grass.
keep in mind, you're not gonna have as much going on that
That's
end.
right, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, the food trucks aren't gonna be down Main Street.
That's right.
The main power pole right there in front of the old CPA building.
Why don't we just leave it until after this and try to fix it right?
Where does it go? It powers
I
up.
was
I don't know the answer.
Because there's a box right there and it
Yeah,
jogs to somewhere.
I don't know the answer to that, Kyle.
Why don't we just wait and try to fix it right after this is over? We got time.
Well, I'm just thinking, most of the jazz festival folks, if they don't know, we can say tonight, it's gonna be in a new location there on city property.
A
On
block
the west
away
side of
from-
Depot Street, not on the square. Food trucks will be on what we know as Jimbo Robertson's lot there. And so most of the activity will be further west than it has been in the
Yeah.
past.
You're gonna be a block west of
Yeah.
this
So
particular intersection.
I'm not sure that it's gonna be, Steve, that important for that night, but I do think we need to,
Yes.
I mean, these things been there, what, Mr. Dow, 25 years?
Yeah.
I think they were a late 1990s
And they were
project.
secondhand, most of them are secondhand. So,
I think it was a late 1990s project, so it's right at 25 years. Okay, y'all tell me what you want to do.
I withdraw my motion if we don't think it's gonna be a safety issue this year, the relocation of the stage.
I forgot about that.
Let's come back next meeting and make a recommendation. I'll talk to Mr. Dow, the historic folks, and I'll try to talk to the chamber and see what we can do. Okay.
I'm glad I brought that up.
I am too. What else you got?
I've got something for Bob, if he's, can we pressure wash the sidewalks before this event? Just makes it look more better. And next to my house and where the old funeral home is, we've got an alleyway there, which last year or year before now, he's painted yellow on there. It's wore out. We're gonna have the, looks like we're gonna have the craft beer and place opening up shortly because they're gonna be parking everywhere. So if they're blocking, nobody can get in and around. So I just thought I'd bring that up also. I've got more time on my hands, so I'm sorry, but this is for the chief. If they're parking the opposite way of the sign, no parking, you know, they're parking opposite of where they're supposed to be, and it makes it, I can see inconveniency. And they did a good job on Main Highway for speeders. We've got them on Main Street. They won't slow down. They're doing U-turns wherever they feel like, and it's just a matter of safety, in my opinion. I've got more time on my hands than I normally do, and I've seen all this, so it's just something that I notice. It's in my blood to say something, and there it is. So I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Good to see you again. I really was concerned. I hadn't seen you in a while.
Well, I'm tired of sitting home, right?
Okay.
That's
Well, get you a hobby.
Yes, sir.
All right. Others? Come on up, Keith.
Appreciate the opportunity to come before this distinguished council this evening. I'm Keith Harrison. I do not live in Watertown. I live on Rock Springs Road, where Rock Springs Road comes on the Alexandria side, shall we say. Like many people in our community, though, even though I don't necessarily live within the Watertown city limits, very, very, that does not diminish my love and my respect for this municipality. Watertown is my home. It's been my home for 61 years, and it's something I'm proud of. And we do appreciate the opportunity to giving us this evening to come and address an important issue to many people living in our community. And it has to do with the urban growth boundary proposal that has been brought before the city council. And it's myself, and I know Anita Holden, we've been kind of working and talking with folks in the community about this. And it's going through the proper channels, the proper process. It was brought before the city council here. It's it's going through the process of going to the county growth plan development committee. We had here in this room, on January 10th, public comment opportunity, and several of us attended that to learn more about this urban growth plan, as well as to make oral and written comments for considerations. This particular growth plan is like about any change that you do. Not everybody really understands it, And a lot of times, if you don't have, and it's hard, Mayor Jennings and I have talked about, how do you communicate to people these days? When we grew up here in the county, you had the Lebanon Democrat and you had the Wilson Post, and that's how we could get to everybody. Well, it's not like that anymore. And y'all do a good job of trying to get the word out on social media. Appreciate that, but it's just hard. How do you communicate? But like any changes, this proposal has created some confusion. I think we can all agree with that. It's created some misinformation. There was a lot of folks that from up my side of the county that came that really didn't understand what was going on. It might have even created, like anything else, a little controversy here and there. That's just kind of what happens too. But it's created some concern from a lot of people up in this area that live in our community. Now, the more I've got into researching urban growth boundary proposals, I found that it's not that uncommon for this kind of thing to happen in the state of Tennessee. In fact, there's something called, that Mayor Jennings and other folks are familiar with, Tennessee Code Annotated. And in Tennessee Code Annotated, Section 658-106, it discusses the process that this plan is going through, and it also requires that a study be completed relative to population growth projections, the projected cost of core infrastructure, urban services, public facilities necessary to facilitate the full development of the infrastructure, the need for additional land suitable for high-density industrial, commercial, residential development, and finally, the likely long-term effects of urban expansion on, and what's so important to me, agricultural lands, forest, recreational areas, and wildlife. Was this study done prior to consideration? I'm not aware, but it does say that it's supposed to be done. To us, this study was due diligence and needed to be done and necessary to inform the public of the impact of this proposal for our community. And due to these items, we would like to respectfully ask the City Council to reconsider this proposal. Leave things as is for now. It's our understanding that proposals of this nature can only be brought up every 3 years. And I don't really foresee any municipality encroaching on Watertown, but if they were to want to come this way, they've got to go through the same process that's being gone through right now. So there'd be public input, there'd be the opportunity out there, if you would. And also, the final thing I wanted to bring before this group is that if you want to do something like this in the future, and granted, the City of Watertown, the City Council can do what they feel like is right, but I can tell you there are a lot of people that live on the outskirts of Watertown that love this place, that want to see Watertown do nothing but prosper. And, of course, we all got to define what prosper means. I realize there's different definitions of that. But still, though, we can. I think you'll find there's some people that could get behind a proposal if the time is right. I think about when I was growing up, my grandparents lived in Lebanon. And, and so I spent a whole lot of time down there, and they lived out where Byers Dowdy is at. Now, at that time, Byers Dowdy was the edge of Lebanon now. And if you'd have told me back then, of course, I was a kid, but if I had a little bit more knowledge and you'd have told me that the city limits of Lebanon was going to go all the way to 109, I'd have said you're crazy. But there's a reason that took place. Who knows in the future, in 3 years, in 6 years, in 9 years, in 12 years, in 20 years, there may be a reason for there to be some expansion. And if you would, and I guess I'm just saying that those of us that live in the community, we'd like to get behind these reasons and have input on them if we can, so that we can all work together to see this community continue to be the best place to live in Wilson County. I'll be glad to take any questions anybody has, or I'll.
Thank you for your comments. Let me go ahead and say something here, and maybe we can cut to the chase on this. When this started, I probably took the lead on trying to expand the urban growth boundary And my thinking simply was this, and term comes out, probably is very simple. But my thinking was Mount Juliet was very similar to Watertown many years ago. Mount Juliet was just incorporated in 1972. Look what they've become now. I don't want Watertown to become that. I'm not advocating for that, not at all. But it's coming our way. Steve Casey and I are on the council, Laura's dad on the planning commission rather, and we've seen more requests in the last 6 months for bigger things than we've ever seen. My thinking was that we would get out in front of this and expand our boundaries, not to take any action, but to be honest with you, I didn't want to be, hopefully I'm living 20 years from now, probably won't be, but I didn't want to be here 20 years from now when things had started happening like that and we didn't take steps to deal with it. Now, since that time, I've met with Keith and others and talked to others privately that don't agree with what we did. And we are public servants, and in my opinion, it's our responsibility to, even though as Keith said, he doesn't live in the city, he is a Watertown boy. All these folks that are in here are Watertown people, or they wouldn't be here tonight. And I understand their concerns, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm ready to step back to where we were, where it's been for the last 20 years, I guess. And I'm willing to step back to that, and the full committee was going to meet early this month in June. And when I got wind that there was dissatisfaction with our plan, I asked the full committee to delay. I asked Mayor Hutto to delay the full committee so that we could take another look at it. I have no problem in recommending to you that we step back and keep ours where it is now. And the next group here, if it's necessary, can deal with it, or a group 20 years from now can deal with it or whatever. But I think we need to be responsive. I've not had anybody that I can recall come up to me and say, I'm glad of what you did. Okay, so again, if there's blame to be assessed here, I'll take it because I was trying to think perhaps maybe much too forward. And so if somebody out there doesn't like what we've done, they can put that on me. I proposed it, y'all went along with it. Now I'm proposing at this time that we go ahead and back it up to where it was. And if you're agreeable with that, we'll take care of that right now.
So, help me understand this. With the way if we went with what we already have agreed on and we keep it with the growth, if we can deny anything coming in, right?
If you're within the urban growth boundary, you have the right to request to be annexed.
Right.
And
And we
so
can deny or approve that.
we can, but that's the advantage of being in the urban growth boundary.
Because I don't want to lose our farmland, but we had talked about, we know that certain people that are looking to develop their land, not you, but there are some right down the highway here that's looking at developing their land in the next 10 years. Why can we not reap those benefits? If we were to build a new high school, we're looking at that area too. We want to
You mean a new middle school?
I mean, new middle school.
High school, pretty new.
That was my reason for voting yes.
Sure.
I don't want to lose our farmland. That's why I love Watertown. However, it's inevitable that people are out to looking to make money, and Watertown has lots of people willing to sell, unfortunately. So that was my vote for the growth. I don't want to see factories in here. I don't want to see 200 homes take over an area. That's why I'm asking, can we approve or deny it if that were to come available?
You can, but if they meet the zoning requirements,
You
don't
can't
really
just
have a
deny, 'cause we
basis to
don't,
deny.
okay. So if we went back to the old and we did not, if we retracted the growth, urban growth plan, And let's say the county decides they want to build a middle school out there, kind of where one of the proposed spots. We would not benefit from that, or at that time, could we do like we did the high school and annex it in?
I think it would depend, Laura, on where it's located, but I think that's a possibility, yes.
Okay, so as long as we can still get some benefit from it, I'm okay with retracting what we had already proposed.
And keep in mind, our urban growth boundary is not our city limits. We're
Right, I
outside
know, right.
quite a bit now.
Yeah,
So, I don't see a problem stepping back.
Well, that was gonna be my comment, because I want to make sure everyone understands. The urban growth boundary is not the city limits. We can't, by law, we can't annex anything that the property owner doesn't ask us to annex. But by expanding the urban growth footprint, my understanding was that would give us more control if that development ever occurs. Because they would have to come through us and would be subject to the, most likely the Watertown zoning versus going to the county where we have no control over what might happen.
Right.
So,
I guess one thing I'm sorry.
and I was
I
gonna say,
apologize.
our reasoning in expanding it is we looked at the areas where we know there's land for sale that's trying to be sold as development and where we thought the growth was gonna go. And to keep it from being just an irregular along a property line, we chose to expand it about to certain physical boundaries of roadways. So that's where we came up with that. And it's not intended to say we're gonna annex it or that it's gonna get developed, but it would just give us more control down the road if that ever were to happen.
If I'm not mistaken, and y'all bear with me, I'm learning as I go along in this whole process. If this council so desired, this urban growth plan could have gone to Cherry Valley or Shops. It could go to Statesville, it could go to Commerce. I mean, and those places are already developed, but there's a new house coming up between all the houses now, between here and Lebanon, all the way.
Keith, make sure people understand you were talking about that. I didn't propose it.
I didn't propose that.
Yeah.
No, he did not propose that.
I don't
But
want that,
this-
I don't want that lady, my
This
opinion.
growth plan could go towards the west if we wanted it to.
Yeah.
I say we, if you wanted it to. So it's not limited to just the property that's undeveloped on the east side of town. If you,
And know there are some properties in that area that's looking in the next 5 to 10 years becoming residential neighborhoods, possibly a new school. So that is why we kind of looked at that area.
Councilman Casey is on the right track here. There has been growth plans for a long time. This is a revision of the present plan that is in place.
Right.
We talked about the distances that we have. Lebanon has a growth plan, Mount Judah has a growth plan.
Sure.
And Watertown has a growth plan. There was some consideration that the growth plan should be regulated some because of the growth. What it does, as you said, Councilman, it allows Watertown to have some semblance of control of development around its city limits. If you don't have that, it will come under the county planning commission, and you'll have no absolute control over it at all. That is the intent of the growth plan, as I understand it, Mayor. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, no, all the comments are here, are correct, including the one that Keith made very early about there was no study done, not by us. Now, if somebody in the planning department did it, I'm not aware of it. Don't mean to speak for them, but, and I'm not meaning to cut anybody off that wants to speak on this, but I think we need to make our decision what we want to do. I think most everybody that I've talked to feels the way Keith does. And I want to be responsive to the people. And there'll be some more people in these chairs in the very near future, and they can, if they choose to go another way, they can.
I'm not opposed to withdrawing, retracting the urban growth plan. However, I want to stay on top of it
yes.
because I just know what's in the works.
Absolutely.
I hear the talk, and I want us to reap the benefits. I'm selfish like that. I'm sorry. I wish it would, I wish it could stay farmland, but reality is reality, just like they said about Mount Juliet.
Yeah.
Who would have known? In high school, we never wanted to go to Mount Juliet, it was just pastures. I still don't want to go to Mount Juliet, it's too big now, but, anyway, I do recommend that we retract.
So I had a question real quick.
Sure.
Theoretically, if the growth plan were to stay in place, what's the downside to you? Or any of the other residents? What's the downside? What's the concern? What is it you're
That's what
you're
the
worried
study would have addressed. There's issues relative to the watershed, if you would, and the acreage that is encompassed in this growth plan is not just these tracks right down Highway 70. It goes all the way to Rock Springs Road. It goes all the way to back in Patton Hollow. And it impacts not just that area, that farm, it impacts the neighboring farms. And it just changes the whole complexion of all of it. And quite frankly, most of that land, I don't know where you kind of looked toward that land or been on it before, it is not really suitable for development of much of anything, shall we say. It's good for deers and turkey.
That was my primary question, was I understand, the potential development down the road, and I understand that this could in fact be a fail-safe to prevent any undesirable developments. And I know that you have to request to be annexed if you're in the growth. But if you're out there and you're farming your land and you're not actually requesting to be annexed, and the city council prevents commercial chicken farm from building within city limits, I was trying to understand where the other I mean, to me, that'd be a good thing, but I would want to find out what I'm not seeing. What's the downside? I own land, I'm not going to ask to be annexed, and the city council is going to keep anything from jumping next door. Whereas I can't rely on the county planning commission from not telling that guy not to build there. So that's why I was trying to understand. Not that I disagree, I'm just trying to understand better the concern.
We all are. This has been the most confusing thing.
Well,
For all of us.
I want to, all the comments are good, and I appreciate it. Appreciate you, Keith, very much. We've had this discussion. I want to say something that I've said to several of you facetiously, but there's some truth to it. If we step back tonight, and again, I'm going to vote to step back to where we are. We're not stepping back, we're just staying where we are. Perhaps that's a bad choice of words. But one of these days, things are going to change up here, and they're going to change drastically. And I don't like it. I'll be over here in the ground by that time. But I don't want my grandchildren, when this is happening, people saying, your granddaddy was mayor here 40 years, why didn't he do something about this? And that concerns me. I mean, believe it or not, none of us do this for the money. For you folks that have never been here before, we get paid what we're worth. We don't get paid nothing. And I say that these folks are worth something.
We can vote to double our pay if we want to.
Yeah, and we can do it every meeting if we want to. But we're public servants, and we want to do the right thing, and we want to be remembered for doing the right thing. And that's important to me. Will I make wrong decisions? Yes. But I want to be remembered for having the city's best interest at heart and my neighbors at heart. So I'm going to ask that be reflected in the minutes, so that one of these days when somebody says something to one of my grandkids, say, why didn't your daddy take care of it? Go back and look at the minutes. My grandkids probably won't care. They'll probably say, my granddaddy should have taken care of it, but he did. Peepaw. I'm not a granddaddy, I'm Peepaw. So, I think you were getting ready to make a motion.
I did. I made a motion that we retract our urban growth plan boundaries.
Back to where we
Back to
are
our original.
now. Okay?
I'll second it.
Okay. Is there further discussion? All right. Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. 6-4, 1 against? Are we, that right? Did I count right? 2 against? 5-4, 2 against. Okay. All right.
Thank you all. I appreciate your consideration
Yep.
and the opportunity to address you.
All right. Anybody else want to talk to us about public business?
Mine's real quick. On the gazebo, I did the call for dig.
Yeah.
And the only thing we have is the water line, and I gotta work with Bob on that because it's gotta be either 8 inches below it, beside it, or 24 inches below the pavement. So depending on where that water line is gonna determine if we can do it or not.
Okay.
So I'll have to work with Bob on that. And on the street lights, I'll go through again tonight and I'll verify it. And if we can get Bob to go out there and just change the bulbs, then I can determine which ones are not working, okay? And then, because I know that a lot of the bulbs are burned out, and that way I can go through and talk to the owners again, maybe even write them a letter or something, requesting they find out which breaker it is and turn it on.
Okay.
So, that's all I have.
Do you need anything from us tonight on the other thing we were talking about, the water line? You need any kind of vote up from us or anything?
No, I gotta talk to Bob first, and then we'll go for it. There's no rush on this. I'm gonna keep it going with electricity as long as I can. Safety, I'll check on it.
All right.
And keep it going.
And let me say too, we talked about Bob doing things, but Bob's a foreman, but he's got other guys that work for him, so it may not be Bob doing it, but he'll see that it gets done.
Yeah, he'll be the one to make sure to get done.
I just don't want him climbing too high on the ladder, right?
Yeah.
Did you say you couldn't get a hold of the coffee shop and ask them?
Austin? Yeah, the architect, landscape architect, Bob.
Okay.
Because it comes out of his building, that one.
Okay.
So if we can get that turned on, that would just help. So,
What about the streetlights?
All right.
Are there any that cover those areas and there are measured gaps?
Lee, are we doing yours tonight?
It is a major gap.
Yeah.
There's a measured gap that is required.
Tom and
by
them are
law
not here.
for streetlights.
I didn't know we were doing yours. It's on first reading tonight. Okay.
That was what was discussed at the planning meeting, that the first reading would be tonight.
All right, let's go ahead and do that then. But usually somebody in the planning office is here.
Yeah, I was surprised.
That's what confused me a little bit. Not that we're trying to talk you out of it.
When would be the next one?
Next one will be July the 18th, but that could be on second reading, so we can do it on first reading tonight. You want to come up and tell them briefly what you're doing out there, what you're proposing to do?
Yeah. It's better when you're the 18th.
All right, so what I've been looking into, I'll show y'all.
You got to do for everybody. All right. Steve, we hope to leave some or
Zoning's over there. We go to the zoning.
yeah, that's what we're here tonight on first.
Yeah. Zoning, it's not, it's already in the city.
All right, so what I'm trying to work out over here, it's, as you go out of town, it's, to the right. I own the property that has that big silver Quonset hut on the side of the hill. So I've been working with, John DeWall and some others on the possibility of putting in some townhomes that would be on the side of that hill. Trying to think of something that would look good when you come into town off the side of that hill. You have some pictures of some that I'm building in Smithville. Those are 8 that I put together in Smithville. We're doing 16 up there right now. This project would have 2 entrances, one directly in front of Beach Log Road and one that would be at the other end right before, there's a single family dwelling right there. So it'd have that, it would be 34 units. The water that, right now we're looking at possibly 2 options. One of the options was coming in with county water. is they gave me an elevation that I would need to stay at to work with them. So that means that the top of that hill there, that's where I would do kind of like a amenity area for like pavilion or something that these people could, whoever bought these things could enjoy. You know, it's a beautiful view from up top. I don't know if anybody's drove up there. The sewer would have, there's a few different ways to get sewer to this property, and there's also a possibility of using city water. So that would also be something that I'm very willing to look into. If I can get the sewer to come from the rear, I would be putting it into a pump station, which would gravity flow to a pump station, and then it would go to the, I would have to get some easements from a couple of, well, one route is just one person, but I've got 4 different routes that I could possibly go. Any of those routes could include city water if we could work that out. The pump station for the sewer, we've been talking, John DeWall actually has it out of town, but he's been in talks with sewer department on what that would take to either upgrade a pump station, things like that we would, we would be working on. I was wanting to also put in, I believe it's an 8-inch main that would benefit others if they wanted to tie onto it. You know what I mean? So this isn't just going through all that just so I can hook up right there, but it would give Fletcher, the church, some others different options if they wanted city sewer or city, possibly, I don't know if they're on city water with you or not, but I know city sewer, which they don't have right now. That's kind of what I'm hitting at.
What you hear tonight on is what the planning commission recommended, and we recommend unanimously to rezone from R1 to, is it RM2?
RM2.
And that will allow him to build the townhomes.
He'll still have to come back before us.
For a site plan, and he's done a good job of laying it out tonight, but the issue before us tonight is whether or not to rezone this on first reading. Planning Commission recommended unanimously that we do that, and I recommend that to you as well, that we do that on first reading.
Luke, a couple of questions, because you gave more information tonight than we had at the planning meeting. So the on-site pump station that you're going to gravity feed to, you said you're willing to upgrade that to handle an 8-inch main coming back into the sewer system, that way if there's any expansion down the road that needs to tie into that pumping station would handle it?
My understanding is it would. That, my understanding is anybody that could get to that pump station will be big enough to pump it
over the hill
to the other part.
To gravity feed into our existing system.
Yeah, because I could go lower and just take care of our particular thing, but if you're going to be digging and doing, that wouldn't make a lot of sense. So my understanding is what we do right there will be beneficial if anybody wants to get to that station.
So my question is, with the sewage challenges we've encountered and all the parts we've had to replace and the dated parts that are still in operation, how will this impact that?
Dale's here somewhere.
I think that would be a question for Dale.
We don't have a lot of problems with, like regular everyday situation. What we have a problem with is when it rains really hard. That's what we have overloading. Our plant is designed at 0.27 million, so 270,000 gallons a day. Summertime days we're running 100, 110,000 gallons a day. So we're less than half the capacity there. It's the rain that really overloads the system.
And this development wouldn't impact the...
Not a lot, not a lot. You are adding some, but not a huge significant amount.
All right, is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve changing from an R1 to an R2.
RM2. RM2. Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Before we vote, let me just say, I mentioned a while ago that how things are changing up here. John and Steve and I, Tony, your father, used to, we met 3 or 4 times a year, the planning commission, and it was to divide a lot into 2 or to split off a lot where a parent could allow a child to build a house. The last 2 we had in the planning commission was Lee's 34 and another 26. That's 60 units. That's 2 streets in Watertown, folks. That's how things are changing that quickly. So we're gonna get more of that, and it's coming. Now, on this one, I know this gentleman well. He does quality work. We know him. He's a good citizen here. That can't affect our legal decision, but it makes me much more comfortable to hear what he's gonna do and not what he might do, what he's gonna do, so.
That's why growth areas are so important too. That's
They
why
are.
the growth starts expanding.
But he's in the city limits, so. but-
Yes, yes.
Yeah, this parcel is in the city limits
Yeah.
already.
All right, are we ready to vote? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, recorded as unanimous. See you on the 18th.
I appreciate it.
Got it.
I got one more little thing if you got
Yeah,
it.
sure.
So, you know, talking about different things in Watertown and people who've lived here a long time, I've lived here for 20-something years now. I've had 2 places here, and I've always been within 5 minutes or 5 miles of Watertown City. I don't know, I've mentioned it to a few, but I don't know if there's ever a way to make I understand the reason why someone couldn't be on city council if they don't live in the city. But I also wonder, like, if you got a few different things going on in the city that you're very invested in, and you spend more time in the city than you do your own home, I don't know if there could ever be a rule or something maybe figured out to where if you were within 10 miles or 5 miles of whatever it is, I don't plan on moving, so I'll try to figure it out what it is. But if you were in 10 miles of the city, that you couldn't try to be a part of city planning and city, because
You own a business in the city, I mean, that means you can vote, could something be changed? If they own a business in the city, could they be on city council?
Not unless you are a landowner. Now, if you own that business, yes.
So if I'm a landowner in the city, but I don't live
Reside
in my building, I can run for city council.
According to our city charter, and I want to go back and double check, Lee, but you've got to be here for a year, and
I thought your residents had to be
I
in
thought
it,
that-
I think that may be right. I may.
which I don't agree with, so
City
could
charter,
that be
I think,
But it's in
changed?
our charter, I mean.
Right,
City charter says, I think says you have to live in the
Reside,
city
yeah.
limits.
So
The
what's
charter is our constitution
Yes.
for the
Right.
city.
And the only way you get that change is go back through the government,
Yeah, we would have to go through the legislature.
legislature.
you can vote.
Now, if you want another, there are other boards that we have here, I can find you some work.
I appreciate it. You know what, holler at me anytime, but I just thought I would bring that up because I've never got a clear answer, but for years I've thought
Well, I
about
probably
it.
muddied it, but I think Steve and Laura are correct in how.
10-4.
But
Right.
anyway, whichever.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome to hang around.
On the 18th?
18th, that's a Tuesday night. All right, anybody else?
I don't know if this would be brought up in new business but this is brought, with him bringing this up tonight, I mentioned a few years ago that when we build, Lebanon and Mount Juliet make a whole lot of money because they ask, for a little money here and a little money there with impact fees, yes. We do not have that. We are growing. And I think we could benefit from, sorry, Lee. We could benefit. Yeah. I'm not asking to kill the bank here, because I want us to grow to some degree, because we benefit from it. But we also could be making some money off of this growth.
We've had some detailed discussions the last few weeks among ourselves with this budget process about how tight the funding is. So, yeah, we've mentioned it, and I still think we need to revisit it at some point.
Well, it's gonna have to be revisited, and I'll go ahead and say this for the people that are here. The other thing that was presented to us at the planning commission that we defeated 3-2 was 26, 24 units.
24 units on less than 2 acres.
Right outside the city limits, contiguous to the city. And the reason they were very plain about it, the reason they wanted to come into the city was, under county regulations, their lot, they could only get an 80,000 square foot lot. Inside the city, they can divide them up into 7,500 square foot lots. That's got to change, folks. That's too small. That's a postage stamp. As we're seeing that over on Richland Avenue. We got to take a look at that. But we'll need Tom and Christopher and them to lead us on that. But I won't say there's money to be made, but there's money to offset the costs of running the government. So that's what that's about. All right, let's go on to some regular business here. I think the first one tonight in the queue is, where'd the fire chief go? Where there he is. He ain't got his fire hat on. Come on up, chief.
Good evening. Everyone should have got the report for this month. Outside of that, I don't have much for you tonight. We are starting a medical class for some of our members for, used to be called first responder, but it's emergency medical responder now. So our hope is that starts, it's planned for the middle of July. So we're hoping by the November we'll have 100% licensure for medical certification. Right now we've got approximately 6 that have a medical license, so that'll benefit us tremendously. And it's also being taught by one of our members in-house, so we're not having to travel out or pay someone to come teach it, so it's going to be very beneficial for us.
Any questions to the chief?
Did you have a good turnout for spring kids?
We did. It was, I had worked that day. We had a gentleman, Tom Bell, who had been organizing that and did a good job from everything that I understand. So.
Because I've had requests that happen like every other week. He had partnered with a group that does a lot of recruitment, and they had sent him a video for recruitment and a lot of different products that they send out for free. And so he had kind of partnered that with a recruitment day and kind of to allow some of the public to come in and see some of the equipment or what we do, and hopefully spark some interest in getting some more members and having interest and support in the community. So.
Did you get your issue resolved with WEMA?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's all I need to hear. That hit me while I was in Dallas. I thought, no, we're going to respond.
Yes, sir.
So I appreciate you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had also talked to WEMA. I'd met with them, was a few of those at WEMA. And what we're wanting to do is keep everything exactly how it is in the city. We respond to every call that's in the city. However, just for medical calls in the county, I had talked to them about meeting what they would normally send one of their engines for. And what I mean by that is any other ambulance in the county doesn't get fire department response on every single medical call. So essentially we're providing a service in the county that anywhere else in the county they're not providing for themselves, essentially. So what that comes down to is cardiac related emergencies or anything involving a child, and it meets a big long list of criteria, but that will reduce some of our county response, still ensuring that we're on the calls that we need to be, but it's just kind of evaluating to make sure that we're not needlessly going out into the county. but that doesn't affect anything within the city. They were in agreement to that as that's what they're already doing elsewhere in the county, so.
I'm glad you put that out there, that we're doing more than anywhere else.
Yes, sir.
And doing a good job at it.
Appreciate it.
All right, any other questions?
Chief, I do have, I know we had a major repair on the, I think it was one of the pumps.
Yes, sir.
What's the status on that?
I had called them, I believe it was Monday, and asked for the update on it. They've got everything torn down on it. It's in the process of being repaired. They were waiting on parts to come in, and from what I understood, the parts would be here this past Tuesday. And he said, once they come in, that's when, he estimated about a week after that. So I'm hoping that this next coming week, we'll have that back in operation.
Other questions, comments? All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Dale? Leave you the next one up tonight in the rotation.
Right.
You've already been called upon, got your helper there. Glad
All
to
right.
see her.
I do have Randy's Heat and Air is supposed to be coming out and looking at one of our sampler units. The air conditioner, the refrigerant units quit working in it. And, it's not a huge emergency. I can pack it with ice until it gets fixed. But that unit, we bought two of those units, an influent and effluent, about 7 or 8 years ago. The effluent one, I've never done anything to it, and the influent one, I've replaced 2 circuit boards in it. I've had the control unit sent off for repair, and I had the air conditioning pump replaced about 1.5 years ago. So it's had lots of work done to it, and the other one's no work done to it. So, but hopefully this isn't too much to get it fixed and up and running again. Other than that, I don't have anything for you.
Any questions, Dale? Comments? Thank you. Sorry you had to wait so long.
No, that's all right.
I had to be here too, so.
Yep.
All right, Chief, police report.
Everybody's got a copy of it, don't
Yeah, we should have.
you? We've got all of our new cars in service. It's a good thing.
We heard that earlier.
Yes, it's great.
Yeah.
The last one was done, picked up the first of this week. We've got video cameras and stuff's gonna be in, not next week, but the following week, and we'll have all them put in.
I signed a check this morning for all the lights and everything on there.
They've
all
done,
throughout. Yeah.
you get a chance, Mr. Mike, all of you need to come look at them. They've done just a super good job.
As long as I don't have to ride in the back of one, I'm all right. We got some new hires.
Yes.
You got, I see one fellow back there, he must be in timeout. They're making him sit next to Hinder Light.
Come on up here. Fed, introduce yourself, please.
Good Mayor, my name's Fidencio Medina Jr. I'm a retired Tennessee State Trooper, 34 years service. And prior to coming here to Watertown, I moved to Houston County, Tennessee, and served with the sheriff over there for 7 years. And I moved to back to Nashville, and came on board with this good chief here. I would like to say just one thing. You know, I served here. I was assigned here in this county for several years, a couple of years, as a state trooper, working the midnight shift, I made contact during, it was like in the early 80s, something like that. So it was really farm country out here, as one said. But I do want to say that I've seen much improvement and expansion from my earlier years. And here I am back as from a state trooper now serving Watertown. And I do want to say this, that I am proud to work for this man right here and his assistant chief and under you. And I know some of the background, you know, of this good city. And it kind of mirrors Aaron in some ways.
It does.
You know, so I'm just blending in, and I'm proud to serve with this man right here.
We're proud to have you. And you just, from being here in the 80s and back now, just proved you can go home again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Call us home.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, we need to
Thanks, Ed.
vote to approve him as a new hire so his probation period can start.
Yes.
So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second, discussion. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Anybody else we need to vote on tonight, or?
We've got several that's in the motion, but as you know, it takes a while to get everybody through, so probably by the next meeting,
Yeah.
we'll probably have either 3, maybe 4.
Okay.
So we ought to have enough people to kind of be back restaffed again.
All right, good. And I should have said, I appreciate you and appreciate your comments. We're glad to have you.
Yes,
It's,
sir. I'm proud to serve under these two men.
Well, I'm proud you're there too.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Anybody
Any
got any
questions?
other comments, questions?
I just want to ask, is all the cars on the road now?
Yes, they are.
I just want that understood. We bought 3 cars, and I want to make sure they're out on the road again, because we don't need to be having policemen in those old cars and taking a chance. We've got good cars, we want them on the road.
The only reason they've been in old cars because we didn't have the new ones ready.
I know exactly. But we don't have them now, we got good cars,
Correct,
and we want them on the road.
correct.
With the police use them.
All right. Anybody, is there anything else we need to do for you tonight?
There was a couple of emails that I had sent to you about the escapes, and
Yes.
I think the council will officially have to make a motion to give that escape to the city.
Yeah, but we'll hold off till, you asked to keep it until after the Jazz Festival.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to make sure that was okay.
We'll bring it back in 18th.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, sir.
And make sure the lights off of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about the one that's red? Has that been covered, insured, or whatever?
Yes, but I would like to take, when you give that other one to city, this may be something that we need to keep for them so they can have some parts, because,
Okay.
Again, at the end of the day, the parts are coming, they're hard, the car's total.
Okay.
Wheels, tires, there's engine, transmission, I just think it might be a good thing to keep for parts for the one you let the city maintenance have.
All right, then we'll bring that back on the 18th. We'll be back here pretty quick, 20 days as a matter of fact. All right. All right, any other questions?
Anything else?
Comments? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, I've got several items I need to run through with you, but I need to ask for about a 5-minute recess. And those of y'all probably know why. I'll be back. Get up, stretch, walk around, whatever you want to do. I'm going through it. Let's go ahead and deal with the budget tonight. It's here on second reading. No changes to it that I've made. The first one is the ordinance on second reading to adopt the budget for fiscal year 2023, 2024, and I'm asking for you to approve that on second and final reading. Any discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? I appreciate the confidence in this budget that you've shown in me in preparing it, and I promise you that if we can find more money this year, you know where it's going to go. It'll go where y'all send it, but my recommendation is going to be to our people. Second, the other thing, ordinance, we need to vote on the tax rate, property tax rate. It remains at 60.6027 cents for this year. And so there should be no increase in your property tax bills unless you've had some kind of reappraisal done. So I'm recommending that to you. Yeah. Most everybody wants to jump on it when there's no tax increase. We'll put all of you down if you want to. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Couple of items we need to revisit, and then I'll come back to cybersecurity, but we approved back in April a tent revival to be held here, July 23 through 28. Freedom Ministry Tent Revival. In April, Steve Casey, I think, made the motion that we asked them to provide insurance to us. It listed us as a, and we do not have that. There have also been some comments made around town that I felt like personally did not reflect correctly what had happened. So I'm here tonight to recommend that we pull back that approval.
Well, I just want to point out that I think we passed that approval conditional upon the insurance being provided, and if
we did,
if we are within 3 weeks of the event and we don't have proof of insurance, then I don't think we should allow them to proceed.
Okay.
Regardless of what kind of advertisements were made, the insurance is a liability to the city as a whole.
It is. Are you making that in the form of a motion?
Yes, I'm making it in the form of a motion because they failed to comply with the restrictions we put on the approval when we voted back in
Did we
April.
give them a timeline? Of when they
Well,
had, did we give them a timeline of when they had
I
to
don't think
provide
we did,
insurance?
but we did that in April, so.
I know, but if you go and tell them it's denied tomorrow, and they're like, oh, well, here's the insurance.
If it's denied, it'll be denied.
I just want to see how that worked, okay.
As far as I'm concerned.
Then I second Mr. Casey.
Discussion on that? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. We'll so notify them. The sewer project seems to have been here as long as I can remember. And I've already said that I don't remember back very far, but this goes back further than that. We approved the easement on the south side, very small easement for $4,000. Through some discussions with the Halls who own the property on the north side, they had proposed a price of $16,000 subject to state approval, and went back and looked at the minutes. Subject to state approval, and the approval was going to be that our line would be closer to the creek than what the engineer originally proposed. The state did approve that. And so I gave them a drawing to look at showing that, and they have come back and said that they now want $24,000 for that easement. These are good folks. I known them all my life. They're fine people. But I honestly feel like we had a deal. And so I can't recommend the 24,000.
They agreed to that before. Can we take action on that?
Well, here's the downside to it, and I don't really want to get into a big fight with them, but we could stick with our offer, Hal, or our agreement. But if they say no, then we're either going to have to pay that or we're going to have to file condemnation. Now, y'all have already approved the condemnation over a year ago, but I didn't like that then and don't like it now because that's a lawsuit. It creates hard feelings. It also takes time. And so I would hope that they would stick with the 16,000. Now, I did, and I have no reason to believe they will, to say that when I say that, but I did go back and check. There is a Wilson County Water Authority easement through there, and the Water Authority did not pay anything for that easement, but they got it from a previous owner. And I think probably the owner has some ties to you. Yeah, it was. And the one we have in the creek there came from your granddad. So I don't know that it's fair to consider that since it's two different property owners. But I will say from Mr. Fred Ashworth that when I dealt with him back in the mid-'80s, honorable fellow, and he said, I'll give you the easement if you'll do something for me, and I kept my word on it. So I need y'all to tell me, do we accept the 24, do we stick with the 16? What do you want to do?
I make a motion that we stick with the 16 because that was the agreed to price, regardless of any additional information they may or may not have learned that was not a stipulation in the original agreement. So, I mean,
I know this gentleman too, real well, probably all his life. And he made the agreement, and now he's holding it over our head because we can't do nothing else. And I can't really feel bad if he does get mad. I mean, that's the way I feel about it. He's sort of got us over a barrel, and he's figured he's got us where we can't do anything else.
Well, I want to say this, and I understand where he's coming from. We agreed to pay $4,000 for the smaller easement on the south side. When you figure on a per foot charge for the length of the easement we need on the north side, the easement would have cost in excess of $40,000. He said, I'll take 24. And I understand he's basing it on simply a per lineal foot charge. But that other easement's already there, and what we're putting in there is not going to hurt him any. And he's actually, well, I just say, it's not like we're putting a new easement in there and taking his property.
And we're not are we going any wider or any larger than the easement that's already there?
No,
I didn't
we're
think so.
we're
So
inside the
we're
easement.
already, if he already has that easement, there's nothing he can do, whether it's the county or Watertown City that's using that easement, it still belongs to somebody else. It's still an easement.
It is, and they cut hay off of it.
Right, but we were doing the right thing by at least offering to give him $16,000.
If it's an easement, would we not ask Wilson County to use their easement?
Well, they won't do that. And our original proposal the engineer made was outside. It would have taken more of his property. And he said, we want it inside, and we made that happen. So that's where I come down. We made
See,
that happen.
that's where I'm with Larry on the fact that I do believe the 16,000 was his number, not ours.
I think it was.
And we've agreed to shift our easement where we're within the existing easement that was there prior to him even owning the property. So I'm kind of with Hal on this. To me, this just sounds like, because there is no county easement on the south side on the small property.
There's not.
There's not. And that was the reason we had to pay, we're having to pay more because we're establishing a new easement. With him, we're simply paying him for the privilege of using an existing easement. We're not establishing a new one. So his comparison of linear feet, and this is my realtor hat coming out, he's comparing apples to oranges because the two pieces of property are not the same. We're not establishing a new easement on both pieces of property. So getting permission to use an existing easement for an additional purpose than what it was originally set up for is not worth as much as establishing a new easement that never existed. Because this property owner on the south side is giving up property rights. The Halls are not giving up any additional property rights that were not already given up prior to them even owning that piece of property.
What can we do if we don't get these?
We'll have to file condemnation, and y'all have already approved that. So I hope it doesn't come to that.
Well, I can't sell my house for $16,000, find somebody that's agreed to pay $16,000, and then go to them and tell them, oh, now it's 24. Because my neighbor sold his house for more. That's just not how it works.
So our biggest issue is
Well, we didn't have the easement in place, but we voted for the 16,000 subject to the state approving us putting our easement inside of his.
So our minutes are.
Our minutes say that. Yeah. Yeah.
We have
Check
that, we
yes,
have
ma'am.
all this in writing about understanding.
We have it in the minutes, yeah. Yeah. All right, further discussion. Did I get a second on that?
I'll say it.
Okay, all right, got a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. I'll pass that information along tomorrow. The only other item of old business I've got is we talked about the state is requiring us to have a cybersecurity policy in place, and my understanding from our auditor is that not this audit, but the next audit, he will be auditing our policy. The policy has to be in place by Saturday. So, yeah. So, now that's not totally the state's fault, okay? But our auditor has given us the sample cybersecurity policy that he has passed out to the people he audits. I have that in front of you tonight for approval so that we can be in compliance with the law. But the two ladies that work for us and I are going to meet Wednesday morning. We're going to go down this policy and see what we have in place, what we don't have in place. Then we're going to bring Aaron Wilson in. He was here earlier tonight. Y'all may have seen him. I know Hal saw him. And he'll help us what we can need to do to get us into total compliance. So I said all that, and I'm saying a lot tonight, I apologize. But I said all that to say I need you to adopt this policy tonight, and I know that we're going to amend it somewhere down the road. So I'm recommending that to you.
I make a motion to approve the cybersecurity
Policy.
policy.
Yeah.
That's compliant with state law.
Yeah. All right. You don't want an audit finding for saying we didn't comply.
Right, so the motion would be to approve a cybersecurity policy that's compliant with state law.
Correct. I think that's what I heard. That's what I heard. All right. Yeah. All right, all in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? All right, have that. I got a couple of items of new business. One is the most recent budget report for this year. I just wanted to let you know that we are in good shape. I have put the word out to anybody in the city that collects money, this office, the police department, whatever. If you've got money, get it to the city hall tomorrow so it can go in and deposit tomorrow for this fiscal year. But as of right now, in all three of our funds, we have collected $1,984,388.17. That is about $81,000 more, which is about the growth money that I was talking about before, but there may be some more there once we get this closed out. But this is good, and personally, I wish we could find about $16,000 tomorrow to push us to $2 million, but I don't believe we will unless we'll take contributions. But anyway, it's been a good year, and I hope it continues. Only other thing I have is the Tennessee Municipal League will be holding their annual meetings in their annual meeting. It's a 3-day meeting in Nashville this year, July 22 through the 25th. It'd be best if I just read it. At the Renaissance Nashville Hotel. I have attended some in the past and have always made the same opportunity available to each one of you if you would like to attend. It's informational, and there are a lot of exhibitors there where they'll try to sell you a lot of stuff that you may need or some you probably don't need, but they'll try to sell it to you. But I would like to attend that this year. The fee is $450, and if any of you would like to attend, if you approve this tonight, I'd like for you to approve myself and any council member that wants to attend the city paying that fee. Uh-oh, silence.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I stress to you, if you'd like to go, July 22 through 25th, the 22nd is actually on a Saturday. I go down to Steve on Sunday and Monday, and I usually don't go Tuesday morning because all they have is a breakfast, and I can get that at home. Got a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Some informational items, I promise not to take just a minute. 4th of July parade, 3 o'clock Tuesday. Who's lining them up this year? The boss? Are you lining them up this year?
Brandy Taylor.
Randy Taylor.
Brandy is, okay. You
Yeah.
did it 2 or 3 years ago, didn't you?
Yes, last year I abdicated in favor of surgeons.
Well, okay. But, and then we'll have fireworks here. I always say about dark. We shoot for 9 o'clock. Sometimes the weather forces us to go a little quicker. But that is a combination thing between the Chamber of Commerce and the city. The cost of fireworks have gone up this year, but we invested enough to keep the same show that we had last year, which I think went about 18 minutes last year, if I'm not mistaken. So, no later than 9 o'clock. And the parade is Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and bring your squirt guns. Already mentioned earlier tonight, next meeting is July 18 at 6, and I'll try to get us back on a regular schedule. I'm sorry, but I've just had some traveling issues and job issues the last 2 months. I hope those are about done. And John left, but the Jazz Festival is July 15th. We've talked some about where it's going to be, and they've lined up. I'm not a jazz man. I mean, I like the music, but I don't know who the players are. But they've lined up some top-notch people, from what I'm told. And I saw some names on there that used to come up here years ago, and they're back, and they're good. So hopefully that'll be a good evening. The weather will cooperate. Usually it's plenty warm on that time. All right, let's go around the table. Hal?
I've had several people ask me why the city hall is not open. They can't get in the front door. So
Well, you get that?
I've heard that a couple times too.
Okay. We started closing it during the pandemic, of course.
yes, I know.
And we just basically stayed with it because I'll just be upfront about it. The ladies like it because they don't have people just walking in and out like they own the place. And also, we're here on the highway, and you never know who might come in.
Even though they get in the front door, they can't get in the office, so not unless they let them, can they?
Well, no, they're not supposed to, but sometimes we leave that door open too. Now, if y'all want to vote to open it back up, we'll open it up in the morning.
Could we invest in a buzzer like our schools have?
Yeah.
You know, like,
That way
That way
it's still locked.
It's still
The door is
locked.
locked with a magnetic lock.
And they can talk to
Someone
one
can
in
buzz
their
and
phone.
talk, and if they decide to let them in, they hit a button and it releases the magnet and they can come in.
Because like,
Okay.
they came and opened the door for me and talked to me. I don't even like them doing that. I understand why you'll have it locked, and I think that's a great
Because them
thing
coming
for
out of that room
safety.
is far more dangerous.
Exactly, and
Them having to
just,
come out of there and start more dangerous.
with that glass door, if somebody wanted to get in,
But keep in mind, most of them are paying bills, so we have to go to them and get the money.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But you can buzz and say,
Oh, we put a buzzer. I don't have
You
a
know.
problem with that. If y'all good with that. But do we leave the door locked?
I like it locked. I'll just be
It
honest.
would give you the
We'll
ability
get drop
to,
through window.
Yes.
Need a what?
I think we get drop through window.
There's one in my office. y'all, Hal will remember this, and I'm not sure, maybe Caleb and Laura, but, this was built as a part community center, part, doctor drugstore, and you could drive through, and in my office is the drive-through one.
Maybe we need to flip some things.
I feel okay with drive-through windows.
Well, we might think about
Like the
that.
bank.
Yeah,
Well, at Lebanon City Hall, they drive through to pay their water bill. I just like the safety. But when you came out that day, I thought, what good is it that you've come and let me?
Oh, I'll text you your car.
But if, yeah, you did. But if I wanted, like, I don't know, I just didn't like that. It brought, as a school purpose and a heightened, yes, it really did, yeah. Because people know y'all have money. So that's another reason why being on the highway.
let me say this for you and for the public. Some of y'all may not know this, but we have elderly people in this town that can't get out to pay their bill. We go to them.
Yes.
And, that's just part of being in a small town. And like I said, if anybody ever complains, they get on me for that. But whatever y'all want to do is fine. I'm good with, you want to get a buzzer?
I would like for us to
Okay,
look at moving and possibly get a buzzer.
okay. So short term, get a buzzer, long term, talk about flipping?
A drive-through.
Okay.
Making use of the existing drive-through, we've already got the physical infrastructure there for that.
It's there. I mean, the window probably had to be modified because it hadn't been opened in 40 years. But okay, we'll get a buzzer. We'll set up a buzzer and then, but if people are asking you, that's the reason why. And I will tell you, my law office is set up very similar, one door in the front, one door in the back with a long hallway. And I've got one employee, and when I'm gone, I'm not gonna let somebody walk in on her. And she can't get out, so, she'll go to the door. And at least there, if they try something, she's got a 50-50 chance that they either come in or she goes out or both, so. Okay, we'll fix that. What else you got, Hal?
That's it.
All right. Steve?
I'm trying to make this quick because we're running late.
Ah.
Chief Hinderlight, did we ever update the dog ordinance about the dog breeds that was discussed a few months ago?
There are several ordinances that that I presented to council, and I thought that were going to be updated to the impasse, and I haven't heard anything, but it is something that needs to be updated in such.
And my other two items along the same lines, we discussed golf carts in the past, which we need a golf cart ordinance, I believe. I think we're all in agreement on that. And a new one that I want to propose that we look into is Section 3 of our charter talks about the privilege tax and the tax levied upon certain professions and the fact that a license is required. We are seeing an increased number of food trucks in our town, even on the non-event timeframes. Lee Bond had one in his parking lot last week. This Dollar General's had pig on a stick, or one of the barbecues. I think.
Watertown High School.
Yeah, Watertown High. We don't get any tax revenue off of a food
We do
truck.
not.
So I would like to propose that we look into potentially updating our charter to have a one-day vendor pass, some type of one-day licensing where if you want to come in and have your food truck in town, you're going to pay us a $40, $45 fee to offset those sales tax. They're running the business. They're selling products to our citizens, but we're not getting sales tax off of it. So at least it would be a flat fee where we can start collecting something, because someone is in town almost, at least probably 2 to 3 days a week now on a regular basis.
I'm fine with the, and I don't think you have to change your charter. I think it gives you the authority as a council to do it.
Okay, I don't know how that would be, I don't know the legals or how
We'll do an
to
ordinance.
do that.
Do an ordinance, 2 readings.
So we have to do an ordinance, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious to know, I'm sure other communities are doing it, I just don't know what they're charging for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my third item, or my last item, fourth, Mayor, would I have permission to have discussions with Steve Smart concerning the Blue Cross Blue Shield grant program to potentially look for grant funding for our back 20 of our park?
You know, as far, you're asking me, Steve, yes. But I want to say this for the benefit of everybody. If you see a funding opportunity that's a grant, pursue it. And then if we get ready if they get ready to give it and we get ready to accept it, we'll take a look at it as to what the match is. But as far as pursuing it, I'm fine. Anything you can find. Yeah.
What's it for?
Well, Blue Cross Blue Shield Corporation has they have a, I don't know, I guess it's an entity that they started. It's a nonprofit foundation that helps cities and schools and nonprofit organizations with park development for youth, children's activity, adult activities, and they've done like 13 or 14 parks across Tennessee that I've found in my research. And their outline that I read, they specifically mentioned athletic fields and playgrounds. And after my time I've spent this year coaching here in our baseball league, we're in dire need of more fields and better fields. And we've got the acreage on the backside of the creek, and I just thought this might be something that would be worth pursuing to see if we could get some grant money for them to help us develop that 20 acres on the backside of the creek.
And we did, Jeff Thomas did this back 2 or 3 years ago, Mike.
Probably been longer than that, Hal. It's been a while.
Several years ago, and they pretty well assured us they'd come in and put us a park in down here, you remember? And then if something came up and they didn't have the funds, or I don't know what it was, but we lost it.
Yeah, Jeff told me it got denied, but I don't know who was involved.
You got what?
Done.
Denied? Is that what you said?
Denied.
Denied. Okay, I thought you said denied.
Jeff told me it was denied when they asked about the playground.
Yeah.
But my thought were, I don't know if, Steve Smart is very good at writing these grant requests.
Absolutely he is.
And I don't know if we had these resources last time it was tried for the playground, but because we would be talking more than the playground and specifically in the items that they have on their website about athletic fields and youth activities.
Yeah.
The playground was a volunteer thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and Brandon Howard led the effort on that.
Okay, well.
But yeah.
As long as I didn't want to involve Mr. Smart or reach out to him until at least I had.
I think our best chance of getting it depends on Steve Smart because he has the ability to do it and he has the time. None of us have that. I think that's the way to do it.
I think the biggest thing I'll need to get for Smart is, I know Jeff Tunk's had some ideas and some plans. We need to give Smart an idea of what we're looking for. But
they will require plans, Steve.
How to write the grant and develop the plans for it. Okay.
They will require a plan, yeah. Go to it.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What about the bridge that was discussed needed repair to get you to that field?
Yeah, it's either been worked on or is in the process. They're hauling some rock in there to shore it up and being concreted in there, so.
So that'll be sound. That'll be sound.
Yeah, it hopefully will lock that up. I feel strange rolling out on their side and talking here. Yeah, Bob had made arrangements with a local, I think I've already paid that bill, it's done, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Oh, all right, okay. I go for one.
I'd say we can use Lebanon as a good template. They have a really big outbreak breakdown of what they use for food trucks.
Good.
Okay, so, yes.
Good.
Forward it, can you forward it?
Yeah.
Good. All right.
What's their cost?
$100 a year, and if you are cooking on the premises, you have to have a $50 inspection fee done by the fire department. But we don't have to use theirs, we can just use their title.
I just didn't know around how much.
To me, $100 a year is kind of low because I know these guys are, I mean, you can't get a plate from a food truck that's not $12 and a lot of them are running out of food, which means they're selling over 100 plates in a given day.
Right, yeah, I don't think we have to use their money, I just have to use their dime.
I just didn't know how much.
Yeah.
Their business plan.
Yeah, I like the idea of the inspection.
Yeah, I do too.
That way you know it's gonna burn up while it's sitting out there.
Okay. You on a roll tonight too. 4 things. Laura?
I have 3 things.
Oh, Lord.
One comes, when you're talking about the park over here, I went to And I know the police can't beat it, there's two policemen on call, they can't beat everything. But when Jeff Tunks says you need to leave, and they're like, you can't make me leave. The last night, the championship game was absolutely horrible. My daughter was out there, being the ref, and I hate that she saw grown people act like that. The other times I was there, it was pretty good. I mean, I get a little hot-headed too sometimes at games when refs don't call what I want to call. But this is a free community league, and I know we can't control the parents. But I even said something to one lady. I said, there are kids here. Your own child is right beside you, and you're acting like this. And then, of course, I can't tell her how. I mean, and I get it. I overstepped my boundaries. I should have kept my mouth shut.
That went downhill quick, I bet.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. But I've seen on Facebook too, like during basketball, I think we even had some situations.
We did.
And I mean, this is a great thing for our kids, for our community.
One of the things, one of the things that we have, and I don't disagree with what we're doing with using kids, but that's a problem. The kids don't have the authority to say, you either do it this way or hit the...
Or most of them not gonna step up and talk to adults that way, because they've been trained not to talk to
But
adults.
we didn't have those problems when we were umpiring, because we had adults over there.
Yeah.
We had you, Eric, myself, Tony, and, hey, Jeff Tunks, I probably got a game half a dozen times, made him leave the field.
And he
did. I mean, he had no choice.
But
And we don't have that. And I haven't been coming to the games, but I know we doing right by the kids.
We are.
They don't have the authority. If somebody needs to step up and say, be right there behind those kids and say, when they say, aggravate somebody, say, hit the road.
Well, Jeff's done a good job of that, but he can't be everywhere either. But I will say this, I was involved in starting these leagues when Andrew was 9 years old, so that's been 21 years ago. I have yet, and I mean this, yet to have a child complain about our league. It's always the parents that complicate it. And it's them that, and the kids just roll the ball out there. They want to play. That's all they want to do.
Don't know a thing in the world about ball.
Well, they don't, but still, a lot of times it doesn't stop me from commenting either, but not at kids umpiring, I agree. The kids, what we wanted to do was to provide some part-time summer employment for the kids.
I think it's great, but that's your problem you got.
And, well, we'll address this with you.
What could we do?
Well, could you get an SRO engaged or Wilson County Sheriff? Because they do like part-time gigs, guarding events and
They do.
such. So something like that would potentially be option.
Our SROs are always working ball games and
Yeah.
stuff to get their comp time to not have to work during the summer.
Right.
Because they don't want to go back on patrol. This would be a
That's
great
right. I don't
idea.
blame them. We'll talk to Jeff about it and see, maybe even bring him in, let y'all talk to him some too. Steve and I don't think, we didn't get into a lot of that. Well, you maybe did the last night, I wasn't here.
Yeah.
You might have been a witness to it.
Like, are you paying the kids to umpire, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we pay them.
Okay, if we got policemen that's off duty, why not get one of them over there?
Well, we can, we'll have to pay them.
And pay them the same
Yeah.
amount you pay the umpires, and say, let them stay over and take care of it.
The umpires aren't getting paid near as much as.
Well, I mean, the police are, it's like with the kid, they do it for the kids
And they make a
without
presence.
being paid a whole lot.
We'll take a look at it, we'll come up with something. Now, the variable here, folks, is we can't make parents do right. I mean, we can deal with it, hopefully.
Could we not have it in writing with Jeff being the coordinator? They sign an agreement.
They do.
So could it not say something in there, if you are asked to remove by Jeff Tunks, you are to leave the
I think it says that.
And if it doesn't, the cops will be called at that point?
I think it's,
The police were called.
yeah.
I mean, I wasn't there, but
Yeah.
I know.
But again, that was a coach issue. That wasn't, it was an adult issue.
It's always been an adult issue, and I will say this, because I dealt with both of the coaches that were involved in that incident. Both of them can get on your nerves very quickly because of their personalities. I don't, and that's, I like them both. They're both good guys, but they both can rub you the wrong way. And I think they let their feelings got the best of them that night. They weren't given time to think about it. They realized, I think both of them realized after the fact that they were out of line. But it's just, I don't know that we have a solution for it, but I know it will be discussed at the coaches meeting next year.
We may have to bring Jeff in here before we start the basketball, because it's probably basketball. To my knowledge, it's not in football, but you got adult referees, and they're getting paid $60 a game, I think it is, or is it up now, April? The football referees, but no, it's $60 a game.
Do you have two lumps for every game, right?
Except for the little people.
Okay, hire one adult and one kid.
Well, we might do that. You're not gonna find many adults wanna work for that.
I know.
No, because they're gonna be taught to the same.
Yeah.
I mean, we had it at the high school level, I had it at travel ball level, I mean, it's everywhere now. It's horrible the way adults talk to the umpires. And it's not even necessarily the kids that they were harassing that night, it was just the language in general.
I think the solution is probably gonna be police presence, and we may just have to, on nights, games are scheduled, put on an extra part-time man to work 4 or 6 hours or whatever during that time. We'll take a look
Because
at it.
I don't want to take them off the road.
Well,
I mean, I don't take them
right,
off the road.
and if they get a call, somebody's breaking in Mr. Dowd's house, he don't want them over here. He probably take care of it, but he don't want them over here. I got a feeling he'd take care of it. That's probably a bad example.
Exactly, I don't wanna do that.
All right, what else you got, Laura?
The other one is, I had a landlord, and I didn't quite understand, but he said something about he had city property, but he's not on city water. I thought every place in city limits had city water.
Supposed to be paying a water bill whether they got it or not. So, in the city limits.
That's what he said.
Did you get an answer?
He told me, but I don't remember it. I was wanting to say it was, I don't know.
Don't put it out over there.
I don't
just
want
let us
to.
know.
Yeah. And they also said, what are we doing with the land on Industrial Drive? I didn't even know we owned land on
We own
Industrial.
just a very little bit out there,
What is the purpose of that?
of owning it.
Is there a long-term goal with it, or just?
Well, it's for sale. If they want to, if somebody will make a proposal, there's a very small acreage there of about 3 acres and another one of about 5.2 or 5.8. It can be for sale. That's all I can say right now.
Yeah, I
Somebody
just
want
didn't
to buy
know.
it. Now, I'm not gonna let them speculate on it. And, come in here and buy the land and then resell it.
Right.
If they gonna bring an industry in here that works local people or whatever, we'll talk.
Yeah.
But if they just want to buy the land, no.
Yeah.
I'd rather the city own it than somebody else.
I didn't, they asked what was our goal towards that, and I said, I didn't even know we owned land on Industrial Drive, so.
Depends on the day, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
That's it, thank you.
Yeah. Is that it?
I'm good.
All
It's
right.
not ready.
Kyle?
Just curious, what is sport betting revenue?
What is it?
Sports betting
Is it like
revenue
lottery
is
tickets and
all of this gambling now that they've legalized in the state of Tennessee. They pay you so much per person. And our budget's based on this. Our 2020 census was 1,554 people, so whatever that figure is, times 50. And it came in a little higher than,
Yeah, I seen it on there, and I was curious as to, there's nothing seen on here, so.
yeah, that's what it is.
So it's a lot
And
of
it's-
system.
This is the second or third year. I mean, it hadn't always been there.
Yeah.
Interestingly, and I gotta go back and check this, and I know everybody's tired, but our local sales tax is up, but state sales tax is down a little bit. That doesn't make sense to me. I'll go back and check that. Of course, the money out there belongs to us, we want it.
It was down.
It's not much. It was $5,000 or $6,000. It wasn't much, but still, that could be used for something else. Could maybe put up some lights. Among other things. What else you got there? Caleb? You sat silently all this time waiting on your turn. All right, Larry Bird. Nothing?
It's been a pleasure. I appreciate it, y'all.
Well, are you ready to make that announcement? Yeah. It's your announcement you make.
Yeah, this is my announcement. This is my last meeting.
Well, let me say, on behalf of myself and the citizens of this community, we appreciate it. It is not easy being a public servant, as you know, all of us know, but it's an honorable profession. And you've done it well, and we appreciate that. Brought some good things to the table. Like everything else we bring to the table, doesn't always get there, but it's good to think about, good to talk about. So we appreciate you. Hate to see you move out of city limits.
You know,
I
per our
understand.
charter, you get to stay 1 year while we find someone.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be a challenge.
Okay.
Is that in the charter?
It is, and I only know that is when Brandy Holcomb was retiring, or resigning, we went and looked it up. And
Really?
so she had already moved, and she was still here for 2 months before she had already moved from her home for 2 months and stayed here. So, yes.
Huh. You mean Brandon? Oh, no, I ain't gonna say that. Brandon was a great public servant. She really was.
We can't do this job, short term.
Are you sure?
Change that, or they have to.
What would it cost me
Replace
to
it.
get you down here once a month?
Do what,
I
Tom?
think we should change that, or that might be something.
Well, it's not in the charter. We kind of have to follow that charter. That's all we've got, folks, or all I've got, unless y'all got to say, yes, ma'am?
No, I'm just waving goodbye.
Oh, well, okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. All in favor, get up and go home.